Hi everyone, welcome back to FRAG-MENTAL. Here we are. Fragrance Weirdo is back. Are you glad to be back? I've missed you.
Yes, of course I'm glad to be back. I've missed you too.
Yeah, it's always good to do a video with you. Now in this video we're talking about a fragrance together because this is a fragrance we've both been enjoying and we're going to tell you all about it. Stay tuned. The fragrance we're here to talk about, I guarantee, is from a brand you have never heard of because I'd never heard about it, but I'm glad that I have. They're called Vashti and they've created one fragrance and they're calling it
Vashti. It's a bold move. It's a really bold move.
Just to let you know that Vashti are sponsoring this video, but of course we are going to be completely honest with our feelings about this fragrance.
I think it tells you everything you need to know about how confident they are in their product. They've made one fragrance. They've based the entire house on one perfume.
Yeah, this is their brand. It's one fragrance. They've not waited till they've got a collection. They have so much confidence behind this fragrance, I think, that they're just going, well, let's just put it out there. Let's get the brand out. Let everyone just smell the fragrance. Let's make one really good one and start with that.
Agreed.
This is from a Kuwaiti brand. I don't know about you, Dan, but I am not familiar, I don't think, with any other Kuwaiti fragrance brands, are you?
No, not at all. And it's quite interesting actually, because I think there are a lot of, Middle Eastern brands, hundreds. They seem to be new ones every day, but most of them tend to come from Dubai. I've seen a few Qatari ones, but I don't recall seeing one from Kuwait at all. And I think that actually, it's just possible, but that Kuwaiti aspect to it does give it something a little bit unique.
I'm all up for discovering new brands from all over the world because I feel like maybe different cultures, different countries, they'll have different inspirations for how they create a fragrance and how the fragrances smell. So yeah, let's discover as much as we can. So let's talk about this fragrance then. First of all, you'll probably have noticed this bottle is a bit of a looker, isn't it? It's
an absolute stunner. It looks like a pillar at like a Roman Colosseum or something. It's fantastic. The amount of detail on the cap is superb, and I don't think people will mind me saying some of the brands that I've seen coming out of Saudi with like very ornate presentation can look a little bit tacky,
bit garish, bit overdone. Yeah,
completely,
and maybe a little plasticky almost as well.
Very much so. This feels like a solid sort of copper kind of cap, and it just looks classy. I think it looks really stylish and elegant, and the engraving of the logo on the top of the cap is superb.
You always have to mention if a cap is weighty.
Yeah.
Because often you get an amazing bottle and then a bit of a metal effect plasticky cap, but this is the business. Yeah.
Cha-ching.
Clink. I think that looks great. It looks ornate and sophisticated. It's not overdone. It's not garish and tacky at all.
Absolutely.
That's only a small part of it. We should really talk about how this fragrance smells. So do you want a little spritz on the back of the hand?
Do that.
First thing I'm going to say, this is pretty strong. This is
I think so.
Pumping off me.
But it's strong in a not obnoxious way.
It smells quite dense and quite strong when you first spray it, I would say.
Straight away you get a really nice sort of fruity hit. So it's and it's, I think, raspberry, apricot, but actually you could be forgiven for smelling, I think, coconut and lime here a little bit. It's a little bit sort of almost, and it's not the same by any stretch of the imagination, but it sort of evokes Virgin Island water a little bit.
Yeah, it does have that juiciness to it, but it's not, it's a rounded fruit, like a melange of rounded fruitiness.
A melange?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melange.
A melange.
Yeah.
I have to look that word up.
Because I wouldn't say that it's built around any one fruit like the pear, the raspberry, the apricot. It's just this collection of fruits in there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of cardamom, and cardamom for me is usually quite fizzy. It tends to give stuff a lift almost, you know, it's like quite an aromatic spice. And it does that really nicely here. But again, nothing about this is obnoxious. It's very sort of rounded. You're right, it is dense, but there's a sort of softness, almost like a flexibility to the whole composition, which I really like. It's really very, very nice. And I think you could maybe suggest that perhaps it's a bit feminine. Maybe some people would think that, but personally, I would say this is slap in the middle unisex, actually.
Yeah, sometimes fruity fragrances, fruity profiles aren't my favourite because I don't find them the most masculine.
Yeah.
And even though this is fruity, it's not just about the fruit. So yeah, I agree. I don't think this leans to the feminine side. I think this is slap in the middle. What it does have that just takes that that fruitiness down slightly is this sort of creaminess. It's got this lactonic, milky creaminess. Like, think of pouring like a can of condensed milk, over some fruit, like some pears or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice image. I definitely condensed milk. I totally get that. You know, when you describe a sort of fruity, sweet fragrance, immediately, you know, people think about quite juvenile, very bombastic sort of pink things, and it's not that at all. It's almost white fruitiness as opposed to pink fruitiness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's also, and this makes probably no sense at all, and perhaps it's because it's Q80, but I sort of think it's got a sand sort of vibe, and maybe it's just the texture or the colours, if you like, the hues that you get from it, but it has like a fruit of the desert sort of vibe going on. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, and it is a Middle Eastern fragrance, but it doesn't smell like a typical Middle Eastern fragrance. It's not a clone. That's the first thing.
No, it's certainly not.
To know. But it's not an oudi, incensey, typical sort of Middle Eastern amouage type smell. It's definitely doing its own thing.
Well, there's no incense at all,
No.
absolutely. And it's interesting as well that it's not a clone. It's quite original, and whilst it has quite a familiar feeling, but without being a lot like anything in particular. And I said before Virgin Island water, but it's absolutely not a clone of Virgin Island water. It's not even close. It just has a sort of textural comparison.
We should also explain where the name Vashti comes from. I believe Vashti was an ancient Persian queen.
An ancient Persian queen who requested a perfume to be created that she would carry with her everywhere. And I sort of like that story, but I also quite like the sort of sheer originality of the brand. One perfume, one eponymous perfume named after the brand. It's just, I think that's a bold move.
This fragrance is inspired and meant to represent the strength and power of women, which I think it does. But you would think that would mean it would be a feminine leaning fragrance, but as we've discussed, it doesn't mean that. So despite the blurb, it's unisex.
I may be wrong, but I would expect that what is feminine or masculine, and there's a huge debate you could have that go on all day for that, but I think that does probably vary somewhat by culture, by region, or even by point in time, because you consider a lot of today's masculine perfumes, classics like Dior Homme or Fahrenheit or whatever, historically they had been considered very feminine, and of course they're not at all. They're ultra masculine. So I think for me, regardless of anything you read or hear about it, this is the definition of unisex.
Would you say that there's a specific age that this would work best for?
It's not for little kids, is what I'd say. And I don't mean that to sound patronising in any way, although it probably does. You know, the fruitiness here is not juvenile and saccharine and super sweet like a lot of the more youthful perfumes on the market. Here, the fruitiness, it does have a sweetness to it and a sort of natural sugariness, but there's no kind of like overdosed vanilla, overdosed candy floss sort of vibes. This would suit someone not necessarily older, but certainly, you know, if you're looking for that very youthful sort of vibe, this I don't think is it.
Agreed, yeah, there's a maturity and a gravitas to the scent, and that's reflected also in the presentation. So if you feel that that is you, then I think this fragrance would suit you if you want to have some gravitas and presence.
Who doesn't want gravitas and presence? But what's really remarkable about it, I think, is that it manages to do all of that stuff without smelling like some sort of crazy niche kind of ultra challenging blend. So it manages to be all of those things, not juvenile, not designer, but retains a sort of originality and manages to smell pleasant.
I think you could wear it for any occasions. You could wear it casually, you could wear it formally, any time of year. I think it works. There's a fresh element to it, but there's a density to it also. So yeah, works variety of temperatures. So yeah, nice bit of versatility.
I think I would probably favour this profile for summer.
Right.
You know, in the warmth, I think you know, a fruity, refreshing sort of style fragrance works really well in the warmth. But you're absolutely right. You could wear this whenever you like.
At this stage, we're not quite sure. We don't think you can currently purchase this in the UK, but you can go to Vashti's website and hopefully purchase, and they will ship to wherever you are from there. In the UK, the price of this works out to be something like £125 for 100 ml. For a niche fragrance, for this whole luxury smell and presentation, I think that's good value.
You know, I think that's the reality of a decent perfume these days anyway. I think you'll be paying £125 for a bottle of, I think you said earlier, Sauvage Elixir or something.
For 50 ml.
For 50 ml. So 100 ml, nicely presented, good quality, original. You know, you're going to wear this, you're not going to smell like anyone else in the office or anything like that. £125 is actually really very reasonable.
Yeah, we enjoy it, and I think it's something to look out for and something new as well. So hopefully it's putting a new brand on your radar. I'm not sure if they plan to have other fragrances in the collection. I assume they will. And I would imagine that if they're all in this bottle, a few of these lined up on the shelf would look pretty nice.
It'll look lovely. You create your own little coliseum.
So that's it from us. I hope you enjoyed hearing about a new fragrance. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe. If you haven't already, go and follow Fragrance Weirdo on Instagram if you're not already doing that. And if you do all that, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.
But I feel like they've pulled it off quite successfully.
Yeah, and even though they say that it is inspired by and meant to represent the power and strength of
Power and strength of that sun in my face.
yeah.